Sergei Shoigu, who had been Russian defense minister for 12 years, has been removed. This is an interesting development since this kind of change is a rare thing in Russia as far as key political players are concerned. Mr. Shoigu is considered a close ally of President Putin, who's been seen on fishing and hunting trips with the president. He'll now have the Russian Security Council in place of Nikolai Patrushev, but this can't be seen as a simple reshuffle, and there are murmurs that Shoigu would be sidelined. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes why President Putin has replaced Sergei Shoigu as Russia's defense minister. Let's get into the details. Before we proceed, a word on NordVPN, which is one of the most trusted VPN brands worldwide that has a no-log policy validated by Deloitte, an industry-leading Big Four auditing firm. NordVPN provides an encrypted tunnel that protects your privacy by preventing external entry to your internet traffic, as well as enabling you to access content that's blocked based on geolocation. Best of all, with one NordVPN account, you can secure up to 6 devices at the same time. Get an exclusive NordVPN deal with massive savings by going to nordvpn.com/defense or clicking the link in the description. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. There's a quote, "Never underestimate your enemy." Sergei Shoigu did exactly that. He underestimated the strength of Ukraine's armed forces. At the start of the invasion, Ukraine had around 150,000 troops, which were in a state of readiness. It was known that the country could add another 100,000 lightly armed personnel from law enforcement and paramilitary forces and would be able to summon around 900,000 reserve forces. The defense ministry under Shoigu also didn't take into account that since the capture of Crimea in 2014, the Ukrainian military had made significant progress in terms of training and equipment with the help of the West. It was well known that the country had received a lot of sophisticated arms from the West, like the Javelin anti-tank missile, before Russia invaded and could continue to get more supplies. This oversight has come back to haunt Russian forces and has taken a toll in both men and material. More than one commentator from several different nations has repeated the quote attributed to every famous military leader from Napoleon to Omar Bradley: "Amateurs focus on tactics, professional soldiers study logistics." Russia has a land border with Ukraine. Not only this, it has the opportunity of striking Ukraine from 3 directions: Belarus, which is friendly to Russia, Crimea, which was annexed in 2014, and Donetsk, which already has pro-Russian separatist forces. Russian forces had been amassing on the border well before the campaign started and had sufficient time to prepare. There's no reason to believe that the Russian military will face any logistics problems, but this is exactly what's happened, and even now there are lingering issues. Military experts around the world have pointed out that there's a lack of coordination between the Russian Air Force and ground troop formations. It eventually became clear that the Russian military was not capable of organizing multi-domain operations. During the span of this conflict, time and again, the Russian military ran into inventory issues. From caliber missiles to precision-guided munition, limited supplies have affected the Russian campaign. The Russian military is even having to import drones from Iran and artillery shells from North Korea. While certain aspects have been streamlined, there are still lots of gaps. Many experts believe that these cropped up due to corruption and poor resource management by the defense ministry and can be directly or indirectly attributed to Sergei Shoigu. One of his deputies, Timur Ivanov, was recently arrested on corruption charges. Ruslan Salikov, another Shoigu deputy, tendered his resignation recently. Another aspect that should have been considered was that a limited military campaign may not fulfill Russian objectives, and a permanent occupation will be needed, which is a different ballgame altogether. It seems Shoigu was not at all up for the challenge when it came to preparing for this conflict. A key aspect of any modern-day combat is gaining air superiority by knocking out opposing air forces and disabling ground-based air defenses. Since Russia had a 10-to-1 advantage in aircraft, it was expected that it would quickly dominate the skies. This didn't happen, and even today the Russian Air Force doesn't have air superiority. It's lost frontline assets like Su-34, Su-35, and Beriev A-50 AEW&C aircraft. Ukraine, which doesn't have a proper navy, has been able to inflict significant blows on the Russian naval fleet. On the 14th of April 2022, Russia had to face a major embarrassment when the Russian Navy's Black Sea flagship RTS Moskva 121 sunk. The frontline warship had a triple-layered air defense system, but was unable to stop the 2 incoming Neptune anti-ship missiles. Several other surface combatants have been sunk or damaged. When it comes to land warfare, from tanks like T-90 to armored vehicles, most have performed much worse than expected. Barring certain pockets like electronic warfare, the Russian military clearly hasn't modernized. It's evident that Russia's Ministry of Defense, under Sergei Shoigu, has not done much regarding this. The implications are far-reaching, as many Russian hardware that were earlier sought after, like Su-35s, are being rejected by potential buyers. Under Shoigu's watch, the aura which Russian military had has been severely dented. This is clear now that this conflict will drag on. This means President Putin will need to keep allocating resources for this war. It's not easy. The West has already implemented several types of sanctions which has affected Russia. Some reports suggest that military spending in Russia has reached up to an estimated 7% of GDP. New Defense Minister Andrei Belousov, regarded as a technocrat who understands finances and economic planning and has a clean image, is the need of the hour. Alexandra Prokopenko, a former advisor of Russia's central bank, explained the rationale behind this appointment, saying Putin's priority is war. War of attrition is won by economics. Belousov is in favor of stimulating demand from the budget, which means that military spending will at least not decrease, but rather increase. Ben Noble, associate professor of Russian politics at University College London, told AFR that Putin needs to shift even further to a war economy and efficient military spending, and Andrei Belousov is one of the most trusted economic officials. While it remains to be seen how he performs, Belousov seems to be a better fit.
Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.